All right, welcome to the Lockdown Podcast. We're here to essentially go over more Raw and SmackDown, our thoughts. We are obviously, T minus what 6 days away from Crown Jewel. We have NXT Halloween Havoc tonight, so that'll be a little bit of discussion next week. But so here we go again. Um, more, you know, I don't even know how to put it. Like just kind of drama that we've kind of circulated for a while, and now all the things that we've talked about seem to have come to fruition. Mostly with obviously Judgment Day and Bloodline stuff, since it's basically the whole shows basically. And so we have Seth Rollins obviously returned not long ago. And obviously he's out for blood with Bronson Reed. Um, that is just a whole lot of intensity, and I think it's cool that Bronson Reed finally, I feel like, is getting the go ahead now. After kind of doing mid card stuff for a while, and I feel like now he's starting to kind of come into his own. Whether it's, R-Truth, The Miz, Seth Rollins, like everyone was getting tsunamis, Braun Strowman, like I think it's really cool to see him, just kind of finally get a little bit of push. So, like, what do you guys think as far as, the whole Bronson Reed, just kind of the push?
I like it. I think I like it. We definitely need some more really big, athletic human beings in the ring. It's kind of that classic legend throwback to big guys doing big things. Uh, yeah, yeah. Let me get see some more Bronson Reed. Give me some more Braun Strowman. Just all the big guys. Just line them up and show me what they got.
Totally
Yeah.
agree.
And I think, I would honestly draw a comparison between Bronson Reed and Bam Bam Bigelow. Like athletic big guys. Like, seriously, like you never thought Bam Bam Bigelow, let's get on the top rope, right? Now you got Bronson Reed, his finisher is literally off the top rope, and the dude's like 380 pounds. Like,
oh, I know.
That is a whole lot of man jumping off the top rope. And even if you put your arms up for that tsunami, which is obviously what they do, that's still a lot of man.
See, I seen Bam Bam Bigelow in person. That dude he's a big dude.
Yeah.
He was.
So now we have, what seems to be a round robin thing between New Day and New Testament, or Final Testament. And so obviously New Day picks up the victory. Obviously, thanks to R-Truth, because Truth gets around. He loves everybody. He's not biased. I feel like he's never been really. I don't think there's been a rare occasion to see a heel R-Truth. He is a character breaker, like word spitting guy that just continues to exist in WWE, and everything he does is gold. I'm sorry. So obviously they get attacked. At the end of it, AOP, Karrion Kross, they all get involved, and then we get the emergence of the Wyatt Six. And this is something that we basically touched on last week. We're like, okay, they gotta have a reason to be there. And I think that's the Wyatt Six mantra is give me a reason to be there, whether it's retribution or judgment, I guess you could say. And so, now this definitely sparks a whole new thing. This is a new feud for them. They've moved on from American Made. Now we're on to the Final Testament, which I think that could be a legit group of like 5 or 6 matches, and I'd be good with that. I think, there's a lot of story to tell the correlation to kind of what Wyatt Six is doing and what Final Testament thinks they're doing. And so, I mean, anytime we get the Wyatt Six, obviously we're all for it. Hopefully in like 2-3 weeks when they're in Grand Rapids, we get them, because that would be freaking amazing. So, I mean, like, what do you guys think as far as, the whole Wyatt Six, like, kind of coming back into the light? Do you think it's going to be the every other week kind of thing now, or do you think we're going to get them every week for a little bit?
I think it's gonna be a little bit. I don't see them being there every single week. But whatever their plans is this time around, I think they should just take a little bit of slow.
Right.
But I am enjoying the group they're going after. That's gonna be a good fights. You got a lot of big dudes and a lot of crazy ass dudes.
And I just love the recreation, and now they, if you kind of seen that, Dexter Lumis had a little bit of Mercy the Buzzard clothing on his jacket. I don't know if you guys seen that or not, with a little bit of red.
I did.
Again, continually homaging Bray Wyatt in everything that they do. I just think it's cool, honestly, if you really think about it, how lost some wrestlers get on the main roster, like that basically mostly being like Dexter Lumis, Joe Gacy, kind of getting lost in the shuffle. Same thing with, what's old girl's name?
Nikki Cross.
Nikki Cross, yeah. And so many names. But like, and just kind of being able to come together, and obviously Eric Rowan being part of the OG, Wyatt family. Like, I think it's just kind of a cool collab, and I think like it gives them time, but they're not going to get lost in the shuffle because of kind of the impact that they had coming back. And obviously, like, the first time they came back was just like, and so, like, I think it's cool. I like everything about Wyatt Six. I think it's definitely an attraction, and I think it's obviously different from the regular, factions or groups or whatever, because Wyatt Six is more of the attraction than like a legit stable, because it's not like they were tossed together, essentially, kind of. But anywho, so now we continue to have the women's tag team division, obviously continue to have match after match, and obviously on Monday, go figure, it was a no contest between Kairi Sane and Io Sky versus Raquel and Liv. So now obviously that puts us, into what it is at Crown Jewel, which is literally like a fatal 4-way, 5-way or something tag match. So I mean, that's gonna be like the women's roster basically getting at Crown Jewel, because that's a whole lot of people. So that's definitely going to be interesting, given, essentially the amount of talent in the ring at that time. So Rhea Ripley continues to run roughshod, and has no sign of stopping. I mean, she basically attacked Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, and Dominic. Like, I don't even care if she's the champion or not. There's just an absolute presence about Rhea Ripley that, like, shit's gonna go down as soon as she comes out. Like, that music hits, and like that's like a glass shatter from Stone Cold, right? Like, as soon as you hear "This is my brutality," like, stuff's gonna like just pop off. She's gonna come down and do damage. Like, I just it's a lot. You really think about it. But so Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee defeat American Made. They basically move along into the tag team tournament. So American Made seems to be taking some L's as of late. I think it sounded like a good group in the beginning, and now it's kind of went back down to like, hey, we're just another tag team.
Yeah.
So we all talked about this, and that was so Braun Breaker defeats Jey Uso, for the Intercontinental Championship title. We obviously have all kind of pretty much in unison have all said the same thing, that okay, yeah, he had to lose this to be a part of that, because him being a champion on Raw doesn't help anything on SmackDown because he's the champion. So like losing the championship basically was the segue to him basically going and getting involved on SmackDown. Um, so like, what do you think now? Like, if you really think about it now, so like, now that it seems to be like Braun Breaker's back to the IC, like, who do you think's honestly really next? You know, for Braun Breaker to feud with, because obviously now he's a two-time IC title, which is honestly a rare class. You know, I think he sits in a class of like maybe 7 or 8 people, maybe tops. And that's like 60, 70 years worth of, wrestling. And so, he definitely being as young as he is to basically have had the IC twice, that honestly speaks volumes. I
Right.
mean, it's
True.
it's the workhorse title. I mean, same thing with the United States champion. Like, these are the titles that are going to get defended pretty much every week in some capacity, or at least like having a number one contenders match. And so, like, the IC and the United States champion are basically constantly being feuded over every episode almost that you get. And I think, you know, those titles are basically preparation for, let's see how you handle this night in and night out, kind of like putting in the work, and let's see what you can do, because I definitely think that's pretty much what Gunther did. Obviously he ran through it quick, to get to be a champ, to be a top tier champion. He's been on, main roster for 3 years maybe, you know. So so I
Yeah,
definitely think it's
I think some of those guys, like a Gunther or a Braun Breaker, are anomalies. They're exceptions, like in the way that they're presented, the stories that they're given in the matches, and they seem to do extremely well. With Braun Breaker, he's second generation, so he already has a leg up over others that come into the business. And Gunther, aka or FKA, Walter, he has been an anomaly on the indies for years before he finally, signed with WWE. So I think there are definitely guys that are exceptions to the rule, um, that we definitely want to look out for, as opposed to, hey, let's try you out in, the vetting process that the WWE does. Some guys just have it and they can just get it and run with it. Other guys need to, be trained and be acclimated into the system. Um, and then it's like up to, the fans to really gravitate for them or reject them, and see what works. There's only so much that you can do about that. um but yeah, I do want to see more of, I I want to see guys like Obafemi get his runs, get his shots on the main roster. I would like to see almost or Omas come back and do his thing. I wonder if he's like secretly injured and hurt. But I digress. I think there are definitely some people that are given shots because they're anomalies. And both Gunther and Braun Breaker are definitely anomalies. You can look at Big Bronson Reed. I mean, he's got years on the independents. He's a phenomenal athlete for, as at his size. Um, and yet it's only now that they're starting to like really invest in him.
right.
So, you know, yeah,
Well, a lot of it is honestly the portrayal of larger than life athletes.
yeah,
And that's what essentially WWE WWF, WCW, like, everything was founded on basically having these people that are larger than life, you know, whether it's like physically or the persona or the personality, like they're just in the upper echelon and they just do it and it works and it comes authentically.
Mhm.
Like if you think like obviously like Shawn Michaels, who was never really a big guy, right? He but like he had that larger than life persona, that personality, literally singing his own theme music. Like, it was kind of unheard of, like just the amount of talent he had, and so like it doesn't matter if you're 7 feet tall or you're 6 foot even, like,
Yeah.
I feel like how you get presented and the fan reaction is kind of how things are gauged now. Obviously, back then, under the other era that we don't want to talk about, like it was a little bit different. It was kind of like my way or the highway mentality. And it was
Right.
kind of, you didn't have much creative freedom. It was kind of like, okay, this group of people talks about stuff. Hey, this is what you're going to do now, versus giving opportunity to toss out ideas as the wrestlers have done now. And I definitely think it's a step up. I think it's a good move in the right direction. We're definitely getting, you know, a more creative direction forward with being, that now the fans are getting kind of a voice, not a full blown like, hey, if they say it, we're gonna do it. But if you scream it loud enough, maybe we might. So we'll roll over to SmackDown. So it doesn't really say this on the notes, but like I know full well the fact that Randy Orton comes out and literally you see him in the back. So like I love the theatrics of now where they like when the first person's gonna come to the ring, they're gonna follow him the whole way through, and I absolutely love it. And the fact that Randy Orton basically calls out Triple H. He's like, I didn't ask for Paul Levesque to come out. I didn't ask for the suit and tie to come out. I asked for the game, the cerebral assassin. That's who I want to deal with this. And you can't sit there and tell me that if the roles were reversed, you wouldn't want to get your hands on the other guy.
Right.
And so obviously Randy Orton gets his wish, and it's weird that it's Triple H trying to protect Randy Orton from from Kevin Owens versus they're even keel. Like I don't this isn't one of those matches that you're gonna see at Crown Jewel that's gonna be like, oh, I can see this going more one way than the other.
Mhm.
Because he said, oh, Kevin Owens changing, he's whatever. And maybe they're gonna bring out a new personality. Maybe we'll see him without a shirt on. I don't know. But like
New music too.
and I think maybe this is like the time where Kevin Owens gets a little bit of a character change,
I
not
I,
drastically,
I hope
but
so.
I,
You
I
know,
think we might.
I like Kevin Owens. I like the duality of Kevin Owens and the idea of him being a prize fighter. I thought about this a couple of days ago. The issue that is with Kevin Owens and his current change is that it comes off to me as being extremely frustrated in the fact that he could not get it done. He couldn't get it done with Roman Reigns. He couldn't get it done with Cody Rhodes. And by getting it done, I mean him getting that championship off of them. And for him to be presented as a prize fighter, he may be feeling as though, do I still got it? Am I still worth being here?
Right.
So to me, it is coming off, his actions are coming off as being frustrated and jealous. He's frustrated because he couldn't get it done. And the fact that two people he decided to let into his circle or his bubble, um, one went off to go help his enemy and the other is supporting the guy that went off to help his enemy. After the fact that, Kevin Owens put the word out on the indies that, hey, Cody's a good dude, take care of him for me. You know what I'm saying? So there's like this whole like big story.
It's more of like a betrayal than a heel turn.
Yeah, and he's angry about it because every time I let somebody in, they turn their back on me, or they've let me down. And the thought that I have is that no one lets you down other than yourself, Kevin Owens, as and you're angry because you can't get it done. So it's fascinating to watch because he's really just pissed off that he couldn't beat Cody Rhodes, you know, and he was really pissed off that Cody Rhodes decided to team with Roman. That wasn't his problem. He shouldn't have had anything to do with it.
Sammy did the same thing to him. I mean, it seems to be the story of Kevin Owens is, obviously like he has the longest tenure with Sami Zayn more than pretty much anybody else, right? And he let him in, and then he went and joined the Bloodline. And then now we're seeing basically the same thing, and it's like now it's even worse than it was before because now you have Randy Orton basically kind of saying like, that's okay, Cody, to go help Roman. Like, but it's like a dual betrayal. It's like a double-edged sword. Like,
yeah, he feels as though you don't go help someone, you don't go help my enemy. I got beef with him. You don't go help my enemy. Either you my friend or you're not. You're my enemy. And Randy and Cody is like, no, that's not kind of how this works. There's a lot more gray areas. But with Kevin Owens, I think he sees things more black and white.
Right.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think we all can see a little bit of ourselves in both, the situation that Kevin Owens is in and what is playing out. It's kind of like, I get why you're upset and I get why you're mad and frustrated, but it honestly is more of if I take out the bloodline with Roman Reigns, I don't have to look over my shoulder to see if they're going to attack me again and do me dirty and you get hurt or whatever have you. Kevin was just like, you know what, just live with it, just do it. It's going to happen anyway. Roman is going to turn his back on you. They're all going to do you dirty. And I'm trying not to do you dirty, even though I want to do you dirty. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's really tough because you honestly, if you really look at Kevin Owens' career in WWE, I mean, he really hasn't had many like friendships, many friends in the back. It seems like he's more of a lone wolf. He's more of a I'll do my things myself. But then it's like you have the few that I've let in have essentially betrayed me. Whether it was Sammy joining the bloodline, Cody helping the bloodline, Randy basically giving the nod to help the bloodline, when you know what? The bloodline problem is not my problem. And that's the mantra that essentially Kevin Owens lives under, is that this is not my problem. I'm not going to get involved. Because you've seen him the one time when Cody's getting beat up, he just walked away because he's like, you know what? I don't want to interject myself in. I dealt with the bloodline before. I did my business. I did my own bidding. I did whatever I had to, and I've moved on. And that's what you see. And honestly, like, I feel like more Kevin Owens than anybody else. Like, seriously, more than anybody else, you have Kevin Owens just kind of like, he's not really a face. He's not really a heel. He's kind of Randy Orton-esque. Like, right. I know I'm not getting involved because I don't have to get involved. That's not my problem. In being a prize fighter that he's literally called himself since day one, like, this is not my problem. I'm here to win championships and just kick the crap out of people. That's what I'm here for.
You know what? But I think the frustration that they're attempting to show, is the fact that he couldn't get it done. He couldn't get it done under nice guy rules. He couldn't get it done when it was just him versus the bloodline. And now going back to that pairing of Cody and Roman against this bloodline, he looks at it as a slap in the face. And I think that's what you were hinting on, is that it is a slap in the face to, for his character.
I'm done playing. I'm done playing nice.
Yeah. And I think because Kevin Owens is such a hothead and he is so black and white, it's hard for people to get through to him. And I think the only person that could get through to him is Sami Zayn, and I would say that he's got a love-hate relationship with Sami Zayn. He loves to hate him and he hates to, he loves to hate him and he hates to love him,
Right.
and
Well,
they've had beef. They've always had beef,
Oh, yeah. But it's but that's the thing, is it's like we all know, like, at the end of the day, like, outside of wrestling, they're the best of friends, obviously.
Yeah,
Obviously, that's with a lot of people, honestly. But what we get on TV is a absolute, like you said, I love to hate you, hate to love you, but I got, but at some point in time, I'm done having your back. And I feel like this stage of Kevin Owens' his career in wrestling is going to be, your situation is not my problem. I love you, bro, but it's not my problem. I'm not getting involved, because he essentially did the bloodline by himself. Like, if you really think about, like, the fact that, like, he was going toe to toe with every member of the bloodline and he dealt with it, but that was the past and now we're in the present, and he's not about that. He's not getting anywhere near, because he doesn't want to deal with bloodline stuff again, because he's honestly been pretty unscathed with bloodline stuff since Roman lost, essentially.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah,
and
he's
so
pretty much done with them. He goes, I don't see the point in fighting them anymore. I did my beef. I had my beef with them. It's done. I'm moving on. I'm gonna focus on my straight
Exactly.
ahead, not
You
deal
know,
with that, not deal with my past, dealing with them anymore.
yeah,
Cody, fuck you. Deal with it yourself.
yeah, and
Pretty
that's
much.
that's the nicest way to put it, because he done did that before, and so, I mean, and realistically, I mean, we all know, honestly, that Kevin Owens beat Roman Reigns.
You kind of had to look at it like this. Cody Rhodes knows he's going to deal with the bloodline because he did take the freaking title from Roman.
Right.
You're holding the title that was bloodline material.
Right. He's got no choice but to deal with them in some capacity, whether it's on the same side as Roman or it's against Roman. There's going to be some finality with the bloodline and Cody Rhodes. I mean, that's just how it's going to be. But I have my reservations about Kevin Owens, like, being just saying, I don't want to do business with a bloodline, so I'm not going to get involved. I think it is a hard pill to swallow for Kevin Owens' character, that I couldn't get it done, and he's had 2 opportunities to get it done, and Randy Orton has come in to his circle. So we're seeing the same thing. They had a little scuffle, and that's why there's beef. They had another scuffle. That's why there's even more beef, between Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. So let him go. The positioning that Triple H is taking with Randy, he's trying to protect Randy from Kevin Owens. This is more like Triple H saying, like, I kind of babysat you, Randy, but I nurtured and cultivated Kevin Owens, so I know what effort he's going to put into this. Yes, you're seasoned and established, so is Kevin. It'll be interesting to see what story they tell in the ring, and trying to figure out where they're going to leave this conflict. But I know for a fact that I'm not pro Kevin Owens on this, but I would not be upset or let down if Kevin Owens won this conflict. If that makes sense.
I mean, it's viable. I mean, honestly, like Triple H is like, "Hey, I warned you."
That's to say,
know?
you got both Orton and Kevin Owens. They're both straight good heels.
Yeah.
It seems like, I don't know if Randy Orton's going in kind of have a baby face or a little bit of a heel.
He's always been in purgatory. Like
I know.
You never know what you're gonna get with him, and I think that's the greatness of Randy Orton and his character.
Yeah.
But so obviously we could talk about that whole dilemma for quite some time. So now let's get to a new dilemma, and that being Carmelo Hayes and Andrade basically ending up in a no contest, and LA Knight almost feels like he's gone heel just a pinch. Because now he basically just walks out of the ring, ends up being a no contest, and he's like, I won game 7, and then just walks out. Like, I feel like maybe that's LA Knight's soft turn to being kind of heelish-ish. I don't think it's full blown, but I think we're seeing seeds planted for some kind of LA Knight heel turn here in the near future. So obviously now, being like all this basically end up being like it's now a triple threat crown jewel, which I feel like we've already gotten that before. So I feel like we're gonna get a different outcome this time, because I feel like when you run it back twice with a triple threat, someone new's winning. Like, and when we talk about this beforehand, but like, I mean, I feel like Carmelo Hayes has already put his stamp, and I feel like him becoming the United States champion, I feel like is just that next step for him. I think they've misused Andrade, and he's becoming like a mid-card jobber, and it's kind of a weird place when you bring him back and you hype him up, and now we're kind of like, he's not for Judgment Day, he's not for LWO, like he's not really for anybody but himself, but like they're not really doing much with him. He's kind of getting thrust into like, this thing with Carmelo Hayes for the past, couple months or whatever, and like that's kind of all we're getting. Obviously Andrade being a veteran of it all, honestly, that makes sense from that angle. Like, okay, you have Andrade who's a seasoned veteran, and then now you have Carmelo Hayes who's a young upstart. So maybe this is like a learning tree, I guess, maybe. But like, I still feel like they need to do something with Andrade besides having him be a coach. So, I mean, I don't know what they have planned for him, because again, if it's not for the United States Championship, then where does he go? He doesn't have a tag team. He doesn't, like, he's on Raw, so you're basically stuck with, SmackDown. And so you don't have much else for him besides that. It doesn't seem, obviously Cody's not going to lose his title anytime soon. When you already have him talking about, WrestleMania, which is 6 months away, like, I feel like you're giving us too much. And like, maybe things will change, but like, I feel like that's bad PR for Cody to already talk about something 6 months in advance. That means, like, what? So then now we're just going to get these BS title defenses with you, and you're just going to hold on to the title to WrestleMania. Like, if it would have happened without you saying all that information to us about you already talking about it, like, I'd have been like, okay, whatever. He had a good run. He kept it, whatever else. But the fact that he's basically just like playing off the next 6 months, like, yeah, looks like I'm not gonna lose the title, so I'm just gonna talk about what's next for me at WrestleMania 42, 1, 2, whatever we're on, and so like, I think it's a little,
Yeah, I can see that. It's like, but it also could, could be like, a really big surprise, like, loses the title, but he's still back. Yeah,
which can only really come to the conclusion of
His brother's coming back.
right. The original American Nightmare.
Yes.
But like the only thing that would shock and awe would be like a triple threat with The Rock, Roman, and Cody. That would be the only thing that would ooh-ah me for Cody to have at WrestleMania. Period. Because that's the only thing. That's all we really hang on. Because obviously The Rock pinned Cody, on the night one last year, so he's got that kind of, 1, 2, 3 bravado against him. And and obviously you have Roman in the mix. So honestly, it seems like, let's just hypothetically, like, if that's what we get, then I've predicted the future for 6 months in the future. So, but it just sounds like another WWE recipe that's like sitting in a crock pot right now, and it's brewing for 6 months. And so like, I just think if he's already talking about it, it feels like you're kind of getting this like, he's just gonna kind of eke his way to it. And I feel like Cody's championship reign was again about the story, but honestly, beyond his title reign's kind of boring. He hold, and it's like, and the thing is that when Cody loses it, what the heck's left for him? Like, he came back to finish the story.
I think either we get heel Cody, which is fun. Heel Cody was a jerk, and it made me not like him.
You loved it?
I did. I liked the heel Cody.
Yeah,
I thought it was pretty good. I just didn't like the whole dashing Cody Rhodes.
No,
that one was
when he was in the independents, his Ring of Honor, New Japan stuff was absolutely just the most entitled jerk. And
to be honest with you, his heel in fucking TNA was garbage.
I think it's really like, it's hard. Like, I think most of it is because it's hard to be believable of Cody being mean. I guess, like, I don't know. He just, like, in the beginning of his career, like during, like when he was with Ted DiBiase and Randy Orton and everything, like, that was like the one time you kind of like had him trying to run that character, like, to being kind of a dick. But like, it's hard now when you see like the whole, like, we want Cody Chan, and then him getting the title and everything else, and the story being kind of completed. Like, it's hard to be like, okay, what would heel Cody even do? Like, besides just basically tell what he tells in the ring every week, just on the opposite side of it. Thank you for the fans. Thank you for everybody. Like, him and literally CM Punk give the same speeches. Like, and so like, I'm more believable as CM Punk. I'm more believable as CM Punk to a heel than I am Cody Rhodes to a heel. And so like, it's hard. Like, Cody has a beautiful face that, like, what happens when he gets really punched and he like actually like becomes a heel? Like, what is the plan? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it to get his title back after he loses it or something? Maybe he goes heel and maybe that's the segue. I don't know. But like, that would be the only thing that makes sense. Like, the only reason why he would turn heel is to get his championship back. That's it. Because you can't be, like, because I'm sorry, like, the happy-go-lucky story, like, we already ran that, and that recipe is like kind of getting out of the book right now. So like, we're not going to do it again. So like, the only way Cody goes back after his title when he loses it is to be heel.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe we get like his gear being like blacked out or something,
Yeah,
but
yeah, he goes to having black hair again.
Yeah, I do agree. Cody seems boring, but it's safe Cody. Just to reference a couple of points, during that confrontation with Gunther, he's good enough as a champion. He's good enough as a storyteller. He's good enough as face of the company. But I would not be surprised if he's on his way out. Like there might not be anything for him after his story other than to just have matches and be a face. Um, and maybe
I
that's
mean,
a good
it's
place marketing wise for him, especially if he wants to do other things and he wants to be in a positive light. Uh, but a heel Cody with a heel Orton could be more interesting than everything else.
but the thing is, but we also toss in John Cena running 2025. So like he's
But
a
that's only
mega
for like
he's but
that's
he's a
only
mega face.
4 months. That's like 4 months,
I
and
mean,
it's
but he's
only
basically
nostalgia.
well, but that's the thing is that like if like how are you gonna how are you gonna combat with John Cena being basically what Cody Rhodes, what Cody Rhodes is now is basically what John Cena used to be, and obviously he still is that, obviously. So like, how are you gonna like? Are you gonna put him on the opposite show? Like you put him on Raw or something? Because
I
we don't
mean,
really
yeah,
know what it entails, what John Cena is actually going to do in 2025, and so we haven't really had anything laid out. They said he might come back in like he might come back in like December maybe, is what I've
yeah.
heard a couple,
I
but
I think did he have a match this year?
No.
So he probably will come back in December to start it off, just so he can say he's had a match every year for like the last 20 years or whatever have you. I think that it would probably be like the kickoff, like December, late December, for this John Cena run. And they're still trying to put things on it, how it's gonna work, what's gonna happen with the schedule, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not too hyped about that. I'm not really interested at all about John Cena's last run.
yeah.
It doesn't do it doesn't make me excited in the least
Well,
bit.
it's
Um,
if it was more authentic that he came back, and it was more like a surprise versus him just telling us he's done. Like, I mean, it's just it's it's like I said, it's nostalgia. It's let's have him come back and appear at some shows, do what he does and like have a few matches or something. Because it's like if like he's been gone for what 4 or 5 years anyways. So like telling me you're done is like you've been gone for long anyways. Like you went and did the Hollywood thing then, which no issue with you going to Hollywood and want to make money. That's fine.
right.
It's just like you've been gone for so long. So like it's not like you were gone for like 6 months and then you came back. You were gone for years. Like, so the fact that you're on this farewell tour, I mean, that's like any band coming back together for a farewell tour. Like you're gonna get the nostalgia, but it's not gonna blow you away.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
we're gonna see the same moveset John Cena's had for 20 years. We're gonna see a couple shoulder tackles, a lift up, drop him down, 5 knuckle shuffle that never hits the head. Like, and then, an attitude adjustment and all the jazz. Like, we're just going to see a bunch of nostalgic moves out of John Cena. That's cool for, like, people that maybe are more John Cena bandwagon fans, I guess. But, like, I'm not really, it's kind of be like, all right, cool. Like, you could have just said, hey, my last match is this. And I've been like, all right, cool. Whatever. We've been watching Product Beyond You. So I just,
Yeah.
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 It's played out.
Yeah. I agree. Or maybe they got something really exciting. Maybe it's just to throw it out there. Maybe there's a Roman interaction. Maybe there's a White Six interaction. Maybe there's a CM Punk story.
Right. I mean, that's the thing is too, is it's like, obviously there's plenty of stories we would want and but like, it's not something I'm oogling over. Like, you're not going to stay here. So if you want a championship, you're just going to end up either losing it or laying it in the ring. And then we go back to this, like, I don't need you here. Like, you've been gone for long enough. You could have just said you're retiring and you go to the Hall of Fame or something, and then you're done. I don't need you to be back. Okay. I don't need you to come back.
Here's the thing with that. I would like to see him come back and to leave on terms that are great with fans and that either close the door on his in-ring career or gives us a story that could be what if. So
Are we-
the legend of John Cena can live on, just like in comparison, like what could have been if Sting and The Undertaker would have not been signed under Vince McMahon, when
Right.
Sting,
It's
we could
but,
have
like,
probably gotten that match.
we'll be happy with whatever we get. And I'm like, all right, it's cool, it's great. It's you're leaving anyways, and that's fine. Let's bang out a couple fantasy bookings and call it a career. Now, I honestly think that he's gonna go into the Hall of Fame like next year. I
John
like,
Cena,
yeah.
definitely.
And maybe that's just like the kicker. That's the icing on the cake of the rest of his career. Or maybe he goes in 2026. After he does his little run. I really, it's the draft class for the Hall of Fame. Honestly, obviously it's 6 months away, but like I really don't know who it could be. Like it's obviously like you could literally just put anybody in there. Honestly, like at this point. We've had the plethora of the top tier go into it. Who's really left? Actually, I don't think The Rock is in the Hall of Fame, is he?
No, he's not in the Hall of Fame yet.
So, I mean, he'll probably just insert himself since he's the head of TKO. He'll just put himself in there,
I could see him doing something.
and then the
stupid like
fans all
that.
walk out and go get hot dogs and beer.
Shit, I know I would. I'd be walking out, go take a piss, and go get some food.
Yeah.
Wait for his speech to be over.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
they're starting with the next person.
He'd be
All right,
the
now I can go back to my
headliner. So
seat.
I mean,
Oh shit! If he's the last person, my ass is walking out, going home.
His Hall of Fame speech is going to be as much crowd base as AEW.
I
I know
he'll just have the wrestlers at the ringside.
I know you've been chirping it into my ear about them being in the first 5, 6 4 or 5 years of their presentation of being AEW, but like it's bad. Like it started off with extreme hype, and like you said, Tim, you went to one of the shows, it was stacked. But like now, Ricochet left packed stadiums for literally half full stadiums, probably less than half.
Is he having fun?
Wrestling?
Is he making money?
I haven't really.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of videos of him coming out, and legitimately all they have, so they have them all stacked to one side, and then some ground level, and that's it. It's bad.
It's
like, and yeah, you can say, oh, that's in the first 5 years. Okay, but like, if they maintained that hype out the gate, what have they done to keep those fans? Because you see show after show all over Instagram, all over YouTube, all over people physically showing videos of the stuff. So like, why has it gotten so bad? Like, I mean, obviously this is not an AEW podcast, but like, I'm really just wondering what in the world changed that the fan base went from 10 to 15,000 to a solid 4 to 5,000 tops.
We can speculate all day of like all the things that changed, but the fact of the matter is,
but it's with the best wrestling.
It's we all are going to have our criticisms about the product. We've already commented on maybe smaller venues, maybe maybe a change, maybe change, maybe a change in marketing and things like that. I can't call it. I can't speculate it. They're still on TV.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
If for anything, there's always this new factor, and their new factor has worn off. And so
So they're
they're
the
going,
WNBA without Caitlin Clark.
they are going through a rebuild phase.
But
That
like
I
rebuild,
would,
you've not even gone a decade yet. Like, what do you mean rebuild? They're not like
there's
it's
here's the here's
laughable.
the here's the thing that I think a lot of people tend to forget is that what was good 10 years ago is not good today. What was
Agreed.
good 5 years ago is not good today. People's attitudes change, and this is especially like with Western culture. People's attitudes change. What they're given has, what they're expected to have has changed. You know, we always want this, like, oh, you've got to keep growing year after year after year, doubling down, tripling down. You know, I can say clearly that after the Sting era, I lost interest in their product because I am a Sting fan, right? Do I want to see them succeed? Yes, because competition is good. I think it only makes professional wrestling more valuable when there are more alternatives
Oh
to
yeah.
have.
I mean,
So
I agree.
so do I think that the product sucks? No. Do I think that there definitely can be some improvements? I do think that, from both storytelling, marketing, leadership, etc. Um, do I think they can become that powerhouse that they were, or that really interesting draw that they were when they first started? Yeah, eventually. But as it sits right now, they've got to take what they have and refactor, rebuild, always be reinventing themselves. You think WWE would be as popular and as hot as it is right now if they would have said, you know, let's just run with whatever Vince would have done at that time?
Yeah.
You can let's even like abstract WWE and professional wrestling. There's a reason why restaurants change their menus. People get bored with it. They want to try new and exciting things. They want to bring in new customers that have new taste buds. You can't just, keep serving the same things. Yeah, you can have the same menu items, like, french fries or burgers or whatever have you, but if you don't give people different choices or different ways of presenting things, there's something to be said about, being having items on a menu that people are accustomed to, and then being able to say, we also have these new things that we think you're going to love. And I think that's what it is with AEW right now. It's that
Well, and
we do we
do
do
you
have
think?
some things, that you're going to love. It's just going to take time. And the biggest problem is everyone's going to compare them, AEW to WWE, because WWE has been there so long, and they are the measuring stick. They are the bar. So
Well, and do you think some of it though? And Tony Khan has touched on this numerous times, and a lot of people have said the same thing: is that like he does not produce storyline, long-term storyline, story booking. And I think that is a massive fault because you want to continue to see the story play out,
Yep.
whether it's like a best of three, matches, or best of five, or best of
That's how you
seven,
get
or whatever.
that's how you get
I
eyes on your product
you
is have
know
yeah,
get
stories.
like
yeah.
end up
I,
having I feel like that seems to be the fall, is like when it first came out, obviously, like, you had packed stadiums and everything else, and I think it became a little bit stale to these people that, obviously had high expectations for AW. And obviously, like, them being at 5 years or 4 years or 5, 6 years, however where they're at, like, it's different now being 5 years versus back in the 80s and 90s 5 years, right? Because you have way more coverage, you have way more stories you can produce, but they're not producing stories. they're not producing trifecta type matches. And I think that's not keeping people interested because essentially every show seems to be its own thing. And someone touched on this too, and which made a lot of sense, is that when SmackDown did not come out for a long time before Raw. It was just Monday Night Raw, and that was it.
Yeah, Monday
And
Night
I think,
Raw and I think Sunday Night Heat.
yeah, and so and I think what I think is a big difference is the fact that WWE did not go out the gate with 3 shows.
Mm-mm.
And I think that if AEW was solid on one show, creating a second show would be a good next step. But I think a lot of it is that you're not going to have pack standings because there's 3 different shows. If you had one show and everybody wanted to see that one show, like nail down one solid show before you go to another one. They have 3, which is completely, I think, most of the issue of them not having a strong fan base, because you have 3 shows to watch, or I think there's 2 live and I think 1's pre-recorded.
And
Right.
plus on top of it is just having every single superstar on every single show, and
no
not
brand.
being like Raw. You have all your certain superstars. SmackDown has all their superstars,
Yeah.
and then NXT. Why
Yeah, 'cause
AEW should be doing something like that.
And that goes back to storylines. Like,
I
you can't
think
have
that too.
storylines if you're anticipating what's going to happen, or social media says this, and you have this build and you have to wait for it, versus like them just showing up on any brand. A brand split between wrestlers I think would benefit. But honestly, realistically, having one solid show and have one solid show, you can have one pre-recorded. That's fine. But I think that is the hindrance.
I think there's a challenge, and it's a multi-pronged challenge that AEW is faced with. One, the comparisons and the measuring that people do into the WWE product. I think that is a hurdle to get over, because we're looking at how WWE does its thing and comparing AEW to why don't they do that. I think
But
that
WWE had a good recipe though.
because WWE wrote the recipe. There was nothing to compare WWE to. The only thing that you can compare it to was athletic events or a soap opera. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when we're talking about this new entity that has a lot of money and a lot of stars, what we're saying is that if you don't live up to these expectations that the WWE has set for us for this amount of years, you're going to be a failure. When in fact, I look at the product because I work in web development. All right. So a little background about me. I work in web development. I've helped different startups, startup companies and different established companies, with simple website or web application problems. All right. So I have seen companies start up like AEW and have a solid product, but absolutely fail at reaching maturity, meaning that they're sustainable, they can make money, etc. And then they decide to pivot and they move to another way of doing business under the same name. And I look at it as AEW is kind of going through that startup business model where it's not working here. Let's pivot. Let's go find some investors, which would be, Warner Brothers, and try to make some money. So, I look at it as like that is like the business culture a bit. So I know that when I say that they're rebuilding, they're trying to find something that works. And so with Tony Khan saying,
do you think they shot for the moon though?
Yeah. So yeah, everyone wants to shoot for the moon when you come out with something.
Do you? I mean, but the thing is, if you look at the popularity of New Japan, you look at the popularity of TNA, you look at the popularity of Ring of Honor, and if they would have came in on those levels and then all of a sudden just hit a peak and they just poof, they just went beyond them and and just flew through the stratosphere, over TNA Ring of Honor. Like
Mhm.
and I think maybe that's the flaw, is that like we get this comparison to what WWE is now, and expecting them to all of a sudden just shoot to the moon when they're obviously a new product. But I think, again, having 3 shows is honestly a massive, undertaking of
No
trying
one
to
would
control.
complain that WWE has 3 shows or 4. No one's complaining about that,
Right,
because people expect them to.
right,
So when I see a new company like AEW comes out and they are trying to do their best not to emulate or imitate or even copy WWE, but still have the same presence, I look at it in a couple of ways. One, I don't think you should be doing that, but also two, I get why you're doing it. Coupled with the fact that someone's ego got hurt during a very challenging time that he has made publicly clear. Um, he's got to make he it would be stupid for him not to make these types of positionings and these types of statements. Do I like the fact that he wants to go, week in and week out bookings and not like long-term storytelling? No, I don't think that that works in the short term. I think that that could work for Ring of Honor.
right.
I think that that concept can work really well for Ring of Honor, where you're getting athletes and performers in front of people, and week in and week out. Long as I see my dude, or as long as I see this, my favorite, I'm cool. Um, I think if I were to come in as a big money investor, I would say, hey, let's get your back of the house together, and then let's get the front of the house together.
Well, and
Meaning, I would say, like, hey, let's look at what you're doing. Let's look at the culture. Let's work on the culture. Make sure that that culture is something familiar, because you've got a lot of independent guys and you've got a lot of former WWE guys. And the former WWE guys are probably missing that structure that they had in WWE, which I don't think is a bad thing to copy or a bad thing
well,
to emulate. I would go from that. I would actually steal a lot of the stuff that WWE is doing and do my absolute best to put my own spin on it, because it's
They pretty
working.
much are. They're stealing the way they light up the barrier around the ring.
I mean, that barrier is just,
The side plates of their freaking belts.
well, I
I
think
think,
honestly, when it comes down to it, I really believe is that like Tony Khan needs to be more of a businessman. And if this is your baby, this is your company, if you see that it is successful in another promotion, like you said, emulate it. You don't have to duplicate it, but in some way or shape or form, look at the success and how they do things, and try to your best to emulate it. Because
yeah,
like I
I,
said, WWE is the measuring stick of wrestling, and that's just what it is. But obviously it has been going for 40, 50 years. So like,
I, I will interject here, because I'll forget. I know I will. So if it wasn't for Scott Diamore and coming into TNA after the Dixie Carter saga,
mhm,
Oh god, that was a miserable time.
TNA would not exist. And it took him that long to rebuild TNA.
right.
It took him years to rebuild TNA. He got good talent. He was an advocate for talent. He protected talent.
Yeah,
Even with,
it's
people
like
that
wrestling's
probably
a
should,
garden, man. It's a
yeah,
garden.
you know, he
True.
nurtured a lot of people and he rebuilt that company. He found a good investor in Anthem to rebuild that company. And if it wasn't for the work that he did, TNA wouldn't exist, nor would they be in a position, if they did exist, to even be able to do business with the WWE.
Yeah, so they're
So
Right, and
partnering up
that's
together.
so
that does
yeah,
volumes for TNA talent too,
yeah,
because
it does because
now
I
you're
yeah,
getting the exposure, and the thing, and like, and I think it's just really cool to watch, because like under the previous regime, this would have never happened,
nope,
ever.
he would have
In the
bought him
fact
out,
that,
closed
like,
the property, and
you
only
know,
brought in a handful.
and that's the thing, is that, and like, in pretty much all it really is, it's just NXT and TNA. Really, there's not really much TNA that, other than like Jordan Grace, that has
I
really
You know
presented
what?
herself
I
beyond.
would I will say 100%. I expect to see Jordan Grace, Joe Henry, and maybe Rosemary
Yeah,
jumping
they're
ship
all
to TNA. I expect to see, like, I expect there to be like a trade and
right.
it being really publicized, but I digress. So with that being said, when I think of AEW and its perception and its perceived problems, I would say there's probably fair criticisms. There are things in work that they can do with their product. They can steal from companies and industries that are doing extremely well and help rebuild their product. The first thing they need to do, make sure that their culture is straight and that performers and athletes are at their best.
They need to make
Two,
their own. They need to make their own recipes.
yep, they do. But that's going to come in time.
Right.
They definitely need to maybe scale back their production and where they're booking, arenas at. To your criticism is fair, but also too at the same time, I know WWE had that same problem,
Right.
and then they survived that. I think Tony needs to humble himself just a bit, take the criticisms, execute on the ones that make sense for his company and his vision, and
Right.
go for it. And
Yeah,
then
I mean,
finally move away from that week to week booking and move into long term stories, whether it's 4 weeks, whether it's 3 weeks. The week to week booking, nah, you need to give that up. Because that's not what we're accustomed to,
right.
and really start looking at how your partnerships with Mexico and with Japan and with others, how you can start leveraging those, not to always put your company ahead, but to put the performers and the stories in the forefront. You know what? It's okay if nobody from AEW wins a match against New Japan. It's okay. It's not
Right.
going to kill your company. And but at the same time, if you're going to bring in a Will Ospreay, you don't have to rebuild him. You don't have to rebuild a Ricochet. Let them cook. Give them good outcomes and let them cook. Maybe Ricochet doesn't win a championship his first couple of months there, but he's not being misused.
Yeah.
We can all sit and talk about how awful AEW is going, but the fact of the matter is we're still talking about them, so they're doing okay.
Well,
If
it's because, like, well, the thing is too is like, I mean, we'll roll by this and get back to WWE, but like, I think they really need to honestly, listen to the fans.
They definitely
And
do.
like I said, not necessarily give them everything they want, but like, to a certain extent, like, you need to be a businessman, and the problem is that Tony Khan just has money to throw around, and money doesn't always solve your problems, especially like considering, like,
Look at WCW.
exactly. And so, like, I think, and he needs to settle down. He needs to get back in the studio, kind of, let's see what works, what doesn't work, and just kind of start trial and error, like, hey, if it doesn't work, we'll just do something else, you know,
You know,
and not go back to things that didn't work. And
I
you know, and again,
definitely
that's the
think
business. That's the
I,
business.
I can agree with that. And I think the very first thing you do is you take with consideration to people's contracts, you remove a lot of the influence from the wrestlers and you put that with writers. Get you some writers. I know there's some great comic book writers that could really do AEW.
100%.
Oh yeah,
Hey,
definitely.
do
Yeah,
AEW
he
proud. I
needs
mean,
an overhaul on that,
yeah,
you know,
you
tenfold.
know, humble thyself, Tony Khan, if you are listening, and steal the good ideas. That's what designers do. That's what it's been.
You lie, cheat, and
Unfortunately,
steal.
yeah, you don't lie and cheat. But there is a quote. There is a saying. It's like good designers borrow, great designers steal.
Pretty much.
So
I can agree with you.
you know you want, if you, because it's all been done before, you want to take the parts of things and steal them, learn how they work intimately, and then build on top of them in your own vision.
Look at the way WWF back in the day. They were stealing ideas from WCW,
Yep, going back and forth.
ECW. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, so
And I think
Yeah.
there's gonna be a good sandwich at some point, okay?
mhm.
And I think, and again, like I said, that you know they just have to put the right pieces together, and I think they really do need more of a team than a couple fanboys back there doing things.
Yeah.
But so we will roll past AEW. You're welcome. You got exposure. So
Jesus.
so
Oh,
but
And now we're going back to the best product.
if I can break
Oh, my
Frederick,
goodness.
it is my goal every episode. Except for the times I have to edit myself. But you'll never see those because I edit myself out more times than you can count. But anyways,
We all believe that one.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm a silver tongue devil. Anyways,
Yeah, he probably has a folder filled with all the freaking edits.
Yeah.
I am the ranting legend, living and breathing, now, then, and forever. So, so back to WWE, when we just got the signing of the Motor City Machine Guns last week, and now they put them in the number one contenders tag team thing, and then they win that one, and then they beat DIY, and then just because they're that damn good, here comes the bloodline and blah, 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 you know, spouting off their mouth as they do. And I absolutely loved the ending of all that because Jimmy got involved, Jay got involved, and now, and obviously at the end of the show, we didn't get to see, but obviously people there got to see is, you know, basically we do have the OG bloodline back. Minus one, but he's solo right now. So
I've pretty much seen some of the SmackDown for next week because it's
So-
been aired. People have been recording a lot of it from that arena and posting it everywhere.
yeah, I
Which
try
is
not to watch all the
unfortunate. I
extra
mean,
stuff, but,
Yeah, they had to tape it because they're going to cross
Saudi.
seas.
Yeah.
Yep.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, and so obviously the bloodline OG, the only bloodline that matters. So, you know, is obviously back together. Obviously it was a tangled web, you know, but like we said, obviously Jay had to lose the IC to basically get thrust back into the bloodline story, which I'm okay with. I honestly like, this is what long-term storybooking gets you, period. You
Yeah.
know, because we had that, like, Jay, like, nah, I'm good. You know, and then it's like at the end of the day, like, bloodline is bloodline, and you know, that's how the cookie crumbles. You know, so now so we don't know, obviously we're still like waiting for that fourth man mentality and all that stuff, and so obviously we'll get to that in the coming times once we know more. But so we'll roll to Crown Jewel. What I think, honestly, outside of 2 matches was very tossed together like salad out of a bag. But so you obviously have, the men's, going after the Crown Jewel title, the women's going after the Crown Jewel title. And then it's basically, so we actually have a 6-match card, which is kind of rare because we seem to be at 5 usually. But so we have Seth Rollins versus Big Bronson Reed. I don't know. I honestly think that's going to be a short match.
Oh, definitely.
I feel like the fact
Probably
that
the first match.
We normally function on a 5-match PLEs as of recent. One of these matches is going to be short or kickoff show. I don't know, but obviously I think it's a toss up. I mean, maybe we'll just have a 6 straight up, matches, and maybe we'll just roll through to transition to the matches faster, I guess, maybe. But so you have Seth Rollins versus Big Bronson Reed. Randy Orton gets his match against Kevin Owens. We're running it back again, like we said, with LA Knight, Andrade, and Carmelo Hayes in a triple threat for the United States Championship. I got my money on Carmelo Hayes, period.
Same here.
LA Knight had his run. Andrade, I don't know what they're doing with him. And that's just, the
They're sticking to the way they used to be with him.
And I think he's waiting for Charlotte to come back.
Probably.
Come back.
Yeah.
Come back.
Come back, baby.
Baby, come
I
back.
missed you, baby.
But anyways, and then you have the Women's Tag Team Championships, Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair versus Kairi Sane, Io Sky, Lash Legend, and Jakara Jackson, Chelsea Green, Piper Niven. That's a whole lot of people. So I sadly, the people that I'm honestly more entertained by right now, just because they're an NXT call-up kind of, is Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. I think they're the sleepers in this match.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if they won these and then that basically put them, onto the next tier, essentially, I think that would be commendable.
What if they won it and they just went back to NXT and they just repped NXT? Because NXT is no longer a developmental brand, but it is an actual brand.
Right.
I can see that. I can see that.
I don't see Chelsea Green, Piper Niven really doing much. I'm more concerned about a triple threat right now than I am a fatal 4-way. But, who knows? They've done weirder things. Because it was Clash the Castle when they lost to basically the hometown people. So,
I would not be upset if Bianca and Jade lost to whomever in that match. I wouldn't be. My concern in that match right now is I hope and want to see how much Jade has improved. I'm not expecting Shawn Michaels levels of improvement at all.
No,
but what I am expecting her is her timing, and I'm expecting the fluidity.
I just want to see him get proper time.
Yeah.
Like, I want to let this match cook a little bit more than 10 minutes.
And I would even go far as to say, let's protect Jade and not get her too involved in the match, only for certain spots, like power spots or test of strengths, those types of things. Yeah, don't give her too much, because something might be happening, and then we can move on. Unless Tim has something. Something might be happening where she might be getting a little bit flustered because of the crowd.
She might be.
Because I remember Ronda Rousey saying something similar to that. And that might be throwing her off a little bit. Because everything else about Jade works for me. It's just that fluidity in the ring. And I know it takes time, and we've all commented, especially you, Seth. We've all, we've all commented about Jade, and this is a really big thing for the WWE. So I'm hoping that they protect her and not throw her to the wolves. That's it. I just hope that they protect her. I don't expect Jade to be in the match long, but I do expect her to have a couple of spots. And I would not be upset if Bianca and Jade didn't retain.
Yeah, I mean, I it's, and I think it's going to be one of those situations where the torch is getting passed, and I really think that I think Lash Legends is a bigger threat than Jakara Jackson, just because like Lash Legends she's a tall girl, like she's very, and her moveset is very Booker T-esque, short of a Spinaroonie. And so like like I mean, but like seriously, I would, she's very parallel to Booker T in the sense of like you just like, you know, like the kick she's got, you know, just kind of the move set. And I think like just because it's limited moveset doesn't mean it's not a bad moveset, right? You know,
Kevin Nash only had 5 moves.
You know, I mean, even John Cena's got the same like 6 moves.
Yeah.
I mean, so like, and we love him.
Damn Orton.
So like, speaking of that, never give up. But and so like, but no, like I think that's okay. Like I think if you have moves that work and they sell, you know, you don't have to have a lucha 20,000 different renditions. You don't have to have 800 literally move set like Ricochet. Like you don't have to have that many. They just have to work. You know, I mean, look at Stone Cold. Come on, dude. Like, you know, other than Stunning Steve era, like literally Stone Cold's moveset was pretty simple.
It's probably 5 or 6 moves too.
Yeah. I mean, so like you know, now that, you know, as I continue to process my thoughts before I say them, like I'm thinking, I'm growing up. But and so like I just come to the realization that a lot is always not better.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so
you know what? I don't want to see Fatal 4-Ways anymore. I want to see gauntlet matches. And I want to see either the underdog or the champion run the table in a gauntlet match. And I think that that's what we should have.
Now, what about elimination matches instead of that? Like, because like I feel like the gauntlet matches, like they're like counting the Royal Rumble like winners and losers like by the numbers, right? Because like obviously you have the most favor being the last and the most fresh wrestler. I feel like if everyone's in there, you know, especially like a battle royal where everybody's in the same tier versus Royal Rumble where it's like, you know, you got someone in there for an hour. Like really, like think about an hour. Like we're at an hour and 23 minutes right now. Like Shawn Michaels has like an hour 16 or something in a like Roman went through the whole
60 Iron Man, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like an hour is a really long time.
It is.
And so like,
but gauntlet matches, you don't. The thing about a gauntlet match that I like is that there is so much room for stacking a deck against the underdog or the baby face or champion or whatever have you. Like you can say like, oh, this is going to be a 4-person, no disqualification, you know, gauntlet match. And the next thing you know, oh, did I say 4 people? No, it's 13. Or, you know, it's like, you know, you can't use your finishing moves, or, you know, you could really go old school 80s, you know, with these gauntlet matches. And I think it's more interesting to me because these Fatal 4-Ways can get so busy. But with gauntlet matches, it's kind of just one-on-one or traditional tag team. You're just, you know, it is what it is, you know. But seeing someone like run the table on a gauntlet match is just something I would like to see. All right. I say that I would like to know everyone's pick for Crown Jewel. Like, out of all these matches that we have 6 of them. Who's got who? I think we're all kind of on the same page of the LA Knight Carmelo Hayes Andrade match. We're all saying Carmelo Hayes. All right, so that's a given. All right, so Bronson Reed versus Seth Rollins. Who do you guys got?
Seth.
100%.
I got Bronson.
I think honestly it's gonna come down to it's gonna be Tsunami versus Curb Stomp, and I think Bronson will get a Tsunami and Seth will kick out and give him like 3 Curb Stomps for the win. It'll be a back and forth. I say it'll be a good back and forth match. Obviously, it's a big difference when you got a guy, you got like 200-pound difference, but like, Seth Rollins didn't, he came back with authority. No pun intended. Like he came back for blood, and I don't think Seth is taking this match lightly. Period. So definitely, I'm saying so. We got a Seth and a Bronson Reed. We have obviously Carmelo Hayes. So Randy Orton, Kevin Owens.
I'm going with Kevin Owens.
I'm going with Kevin.
I think it's going to be Kevin.
I like Randy Orton, but I could see Kevin Owens coming out on top.
Because we're going to get a revamped Kevin Owens. We're going to get a Kevin Owens we're not subject to normally. I really think that we're going to get even a more grittier prize fighter Saturday. Period. Yeah. Like I really think that they didn't chalk this one up without having an absolute banger on their hands that they wanted to like slow burn us into, and we're gonna get it, and that fire's gonna be turned up to 11. So tag team titles for the women. I mean, I'm
going with the NXT women.
I'm going with Lash and Jakara. I think they've been getting pushed pretty quickly, and honestly, it's definitely, it would be an absolute respect to NXT. Like, put some respect on us down here, like for real.
I agree.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's gonna be
Tiffany Stratton.
No, never.
Damage Control.
She's gonna cash in her Money in the Bank on tag team. She's like, yeah, I got these by myself.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. I think Chelsea Green has done a lot of work in what they've asked for her, and I think Piper is probably one of a handful of women that are unsung, and I think they could walk out of it. Yeah. So, I'm going to go with those two,
All right. So now let's get to the bread and butter. Nia Jax and Liv Morgan.
Nia
Jax. 100%.
Yeah. Nia Jax.
Because I'm sorry, because Raquel can try to get involved. That is not going to happen. I'm sorry, Liv. Like, you should be happy this match is not for your championship.
Yeah, but at the same
she'll definitely lose it.
At the same time, at the same time, do they want to get nuclear heat on Liv, or do the Saudis want Liv? Because
they want that big girl.
I don't think that they would. I think it's going to be Liv. I'm going to go with Liv.
Huh.
I know.
It's like me and Tim versus you at this point.
If it was not in Saudi Arabia, I would say Yep, it's Nia Jax. This
In
could be here in Grand Rapids. I would say Nia Jax. Anywhere else on Earth. I'm gonna say, yeah, the Saudis made the call. They want Liv.
all right, Cody and Gunther.
Gunter.
Got it. I Cody needs to take an L. Period.
Mm.
And again,
He would.
I'm sorry to say,
he
the
would-
reason why I'm going with Gunter because he is pretty much on fire and they're pushing him pretty good. Cody's more of like
the
a back burner.
Cody was heating up, but Gunther literally lit the flames. So I'm pretty sure.
much.
Like I just got Gunther. I think like
I-
again, this is the same thing I just said about Liv.
Yeah, it
She
makes
needs
so
to take
much
an L.
sense from a heel perspective and getting that edge for Gunther to get him as a win. To get him, yeah.
They need to continue adding fuel to his fire because
Yep. Yeah.
and it's like one of the thing and like and the silly thing is that Gunther, the things he says, although like if you view them through the lens of being a heel, you're like, okay, yeah, these make sense. But like honestly, the things he's saying are honestly kind of true.
There's always going to
Agree.
be that level of fact or
Right.
truth.
Well, and how he
say.
presents it,
Mhm.
he's like first you're sweet and then he's sour. Like like and he like goes in there and he's all like glad handing and like high fiving and then all of a sudden he's like, but like
Yeah.
I honestly I love Gunther on the mic, dude. I honestly think that
You guys good mic
from-
skills.
he has amazing
They're writing
mic
really
skills.
well for him.
Oh,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah, I Cody can survive it. Cody can survive a loss, and it plays into Cody's story. Yeah, I
But Cody's
And
gonna
then
come out now looking white. He's gonna come out looking red.
yeah,
And then you have Drew McIntyre and CM Punk on an island somewhere taking a siesta from their Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah.
They won't be back.
That's
They
right.
won't even be back till like mid-November. I think they both are getting some respite.
Probably.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah, if this was
Right.
any other place, we might see CM Punk, but I digress.
That dude's banged up.
Yeah,
Well, they both are.
it's good for their characters to have some time off, and also at the same time,
It's,
It is
and
what it-
I do you think we're gonna have any surprise comebacks though? Like, do you think we're gonna get just whether it's just at the beginning of the show or the end of the show? Like, do you think we're gonna get like a return? I feel like it's very Saudi-esque to do that, so I feel like we might.
Good.
I was gonna say, I thought the Bloodline was wrestling there too.
No,
We
no,
could.
that was pitched but never like came to fruition. I think they're gonna save their
Have the Usos ever been to Saudi?
Yes.
yeah.
All right.
I think we're gonna save this bloodline stuff for War Games.
I was gonna say because
I mean, War Games is at the end of next month, so I
if
mean,
you didn't
it's
see a little bit of a teaser for next week's SmackDown, because Jey Uso says tomorrow night, I got your back, and it's showing the pay-per-view that day.
he probably misspoke,
Mhm.
or did he?
We will find out next week.
Goodness.
This makes me think of it just makes me think of Paul Bear.
Beware
anyway.
the Undertaker.
You do that too well. Oh, all right. Well, we will put a pin in as we do, but we'll see you guys next week. We'll see what goes on this week. Obviously, I'm gonna go pretty much watch NXT Halloween Havoc. Obviously, I'm about an hour behind, probably 2 hours behind. I don't know, but I'll watch it. So, we'll see what happens next week. We'll obviously continue to dive into the archives of what YouTubers are saying, Instagram, whatever, what they're saying about, WWE and even AEW. And so, like, we'll see you guys next week. We'll see what more information we got going on. Obviously, we're basically hitting into Crown Jewel this week, and then obviously 3-4 weeks later, we're at Survivor Series War Games. So there's a lot cooking. So we'll just
smell what we're cooking.
We'll just continue, to talk about things currently and a little bit of pipe dreams, a little bit of fantasy booking as we do. And I didn't have to edit myself this time. This is a good day.
Yay.
It's a good day. I can just record, I can hit and send and be good to go. Oh, thank you. No edits.
Yay! No edits.
All right, this is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.